Max Verstappen has candidly shared his thoughts on George Russell, revealing dissatisfaction with the Brit's conduct before the stewards regarding the penalty Verstappen received during qualifying. While Russell hasn't been a major contender in this year's Drivers' Championship, the dynamic could shift in 2025 as Mercedes is expected to become more competitive. Could this strained relationship influence how Verstappen races against Russell in the future? And are we witnessing the beginning of a new rivalry? The tension between Verstappen and Russell reached a boiling point during the Qatar GP qualifying session, which featured a controversial incident. Verstappen was penalized for impeding Russell, despite the latter not being on a flying lap. The decision led to a one-place grid drop for Verstappen, who criticized the ruling and voiced his frustration, saying he is done with the FIA over what he considered a trivial infringement. Given the narrow and compact nature of the Qatar circuit, impeding incidents are more likely. However, Verstappen accused Russell of driving unnecessarily fast, potentially exacerbating the situation that resulted in the penalty. While Russell's media persona paints one picture, Verstappen claims there's a hidden side to the Mercedes driver, leading him to declare a complete loss of respect for his rival. The language Max Verstappen used when addressing the recent controversy could once again put him at odds with the FIA. Despite his efforts to stay measured, Verstappen's frustration was evident, and he did not shy away from using explicit language while discussing the incident. Verstappen remarked, "I was quite surprised when sitting there in the steward's room, seeing everything that was going on. Honestly, it was very disappointing, because I think we're all here to respect each other. Of course, I've been in that meeting room many times in my career with people I've raced against, and I've never seen someone try to screw someone over that hard. For me, that's just too much. I lost all respect." He went on to say, "Russell always does it very nicely in front of the cameras, but when you are with him in person, it's like dealing with a completely different person. I can't stand that. Honestly, it's better for him to just F off. I don't want to get involved in this." Verstappen's pointed comments reflected his frustration but also risk attracting further scrutiny from the FIA, which takes a firm stance on the use of offensive language. The reigning champion is already under the spotlight, as he has yet to fulfill the community service penalty imposed for swearing during a press conference at the Singapore GP. What adds intrigue to this situation is Verstappen's recent conversation with FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem at the Qatar GP. While many speculated the meeting would address ongoing changes in FIA staffing, the primary topic reportedly revolved around the swearing incidents, a matter that occupied nearly 30 minutes of their discussion. The FIA continues to emphasize that drivers should concentrate on racing and avoid conduct that undermines the sport's integrity. This firm stance could further irritate Max Verstappen, potentially fueling his resolve to dominate on track. As a four-time world champion, Verstappen remains one of the most formidable competitors in the sport, and racing against him, especially with contentious tactics, is no small challenge. While Verstappen may not have the cleanest reputation on the grid, he is generally regarded as someone who respects the rules. For George Russell to provoke such a strong reaction from him suggests that the Brit has put himself in a difficult position heading into the next season. The penalty Verstappen received during qualifying has already stirred substantial debate, and the growing animosity between the two drivers hints at more fireworks as the championship unfolds. Notably, Russell wasn't even on a flying lap during the incident. He was merely preparing for one. This raises questions about what exactly transpired in the steward's room to ignite Verstappen's ire. Given Verstappen's extensive career and track record, it's clear that it takes a significant provocation to elicit this level of frustration, especially during a season where he is poised to celebrate yet another milestone. Looking ahead, this incident sets an intriguing tone for the future, particularly as Russell and Mercedes gear up for a highly competitive 2025. With Mercedes narrowing the gap to the top teams, Russell has proven himself to be a tough opponent when equipped with a competitive car. His recent performances, securing front-row starts in the last 3 races, highlight the strides Mercedes has made, positioning them as serious contenders for the seasons to come. This unfolding dynamic is sure to shape the relationships and rivalries among drivers in the seasons ahead. While fierce competition on track is part of the sport, losing respect for a fellow competitor is an entirely different issue. one that could have far-reaching implications as the grid becomes more competitive in 2025. Verstappen didn't just voice his frustrations in public. He reportedly confronted Russell directly following the stewards' meeting. According to a Sky F1 pundit, this confrontation, combined with Verstappen's post-race comments, highlights the rising tension between the two drivers and hints at a dramatic season to come. During the stewards' meeting, Verstappen is said to have had a pointed conversation with Russell, warning him about how future on-track battles might play out. Naomi Schiff, who reported on the incident, chose not to disclose the specific language used by Verstappen. She commented, "I'm not going to repeat Verstappen's words. I don't know if the FIA would fine me if I did, but I think Max had a word with George after they left the steward's room, and he made it very clear that George should watch his back." Adding to the controversy, Red Bull team principal Christian Horner weighed in, criticizing how Mercedes approached the situation. Horner expressed surprise at the decision to penalize Verstappen so heavily, particularly given that Mercedes isn't currently in the championship fight. The demotion from pole position, he suggested, felt excessive under the circumstances. Christian Horner weighed in on the controversy, saying, "Let's just say Max wasn't enamored with the FIA's decision. It was a very strange call because under yesterday's circumstances, both cars were on slow laps. I do feel that George and Mercedes made a bigger deal out of it than necessary. It was unprecedented for something like this to result in such a penalty. This incident underscores the growing tensions between Max Verstappen and George Russell, while also casting doubt on the FIA's decision-making process. As the fallout continues, it's clear that the situation could have long-lasting implications for the relationship between the two drivers and their teams. Despite the one-place grid penalty, Verstappen turned the setback into one of his most impressive starts of the season. Starting from the dirty side of the track, he outbraked Russell and took the lead by the end of Turn 1, showcasing his determination to overcome the disadvantage. Christian Horner also addressed the frustration Verstappen felt, noting that it was understandable given the circumstances. He commented, "Max was clearly disappointed. If you look at it objectively, one could argue that George was driving a little too quickly on a slow lap, especially with two slow cars ahead of him. Maybe that was reckless. The penalty was frustrating, but it seemed to fuel Max's motivation even more. His enthusiasm to get off the line well was evident, and I think there was some gamesmanship involved in the whole situation." Horner further highlighted the delicate balance between on-track rivalry and sportsmanship. While being a fierce competitor is part of racing, actions perceived as opportunistic or disrespectful, such as exploiting a situation unfairly, can provoke drivers like Verstappen, who value a clear sense of fairness in their battles. This emerging rivalry adds a thrilling new dimension to the grid's dynamics, and it will be intriguing to watch how the relationship between Verstappen and Russell unfolds. Russell has proven time and again that he is capable of competing with the very best, but facing off against Verstappen brings an entirely new level of intensity and pressure. While Russell deserves recognition for his skills and achievements, matching Verstappen's relentless racing approach and mental resilience will be a significant challenge. As the tensions between the two continue to build, their interactions could become a defining feature of the upcoming seasons. The pressure of racing against Verstappen is something few drivers can withstand, as Lando Norris found out during the 2024 season. Only a select few, like Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, have shown they can challenge Verstappen head-to-head without major clashes. However, the 2021 season served as a reminder of how volatile such rivalries can be, given the number of incidents that arose between championship contenders. With all of this in mind, the big question remains: does Russell have what it takes to challenge Verstappen as early as 2025? Also, with Red Bull facing some challenges in the upcoming season, Verstappen may face stronger competition, which could bring back the fiery and aggressive driver that fans remember from early in his career? Write your opinion in the comments below. We really want to know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest news and exciting videos. See you in the next issue.